All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back here to Kickin It With Knuble, episode 7. Mike, we're back. Lots to talk about. Flyers are struggling, is one way to put it. I know you're in a little bit of a different spot, Mike. I think you're coming back soon. You're in Iowa, right?
Yeah, out here in Des Moines. Yeah, taking in some Iowa Wild practices and game tonight and stuff. So visiting some people I know out here. So it's been good. It's kind of stay fresh and kind of know what they're talking about and how the games, if things are changing and who's playing and or how the game's played, what their thoughts are. So it's good. Good checking every once in a while.
Yeah, it's awesome. There you go. You've been traveling a lot. It's been golf and Caps and now Iowa. Yeah,
it's been a
busy couple months.
I know it is. Yeah, it's this time of year and it's a good time to get out and about. It's still nice to get around, at least in our area. So might as well. Not enough golf though. That's right. Not enough. Next week. Back to it. Yeah.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. As for the Flyers, Mike, I put in here on our notes, I have is it time to panic? Because, and I think I have an idea what you're going to say, but the more I watch this team and the more we're kind of getting through the year, I feel like this season's either going to go one or two ways. They're going to end up rebounding a little bit and they're going to end up doing okay, probably still going to miss the playoffs, or it's just going to be really bad. And I don't know which one to judge right now because you're still trying to figure out what this team is, how they can play. A lot of things just haven't gone their way in terms of scoring. Going into last night's game against Washington, as of right now, we're recording this on Wednesday. The Flyers do play tonight, take on the Caps again. Got shut out against, when we last talked, Mike, it was Seattle.
On their way to Seattle. Yeah, they were on their way.
Seattle, yeah. And struggled in that game. Had a real bad second period. Probably one of the worst periods they played this year so far. Give up 4 goals. 2 of them were in 8 seconds. It was just a bad period. Lose that game 6-4. They had a couple chances, but they lose that 6-4 to empty netter. Canucks game, they just laid a dud. Like, they just totally laid an egg. Came home. And you mentioned it, too, where that one could have been tough because you're coming home, you're traveling and everything, and you're just kind of going through the motions of getting back in the swing of things. Last night was like, all right, well, let's see what they can do now with a couple of days off. They had, they're off Sunday. I think they practiced Monday. And it's like, all right, let's see what they can do. And then they go pretty good first period. They're down 2-0 off, 2 shorthanded goals. And then they had 5 shots the rest of the game. And it's just like, you're kind of just like throwing your hands in the air, like, what is going to happen here? And it's like, you're kind of just like poking them, like seeing what can happen, poking the dead horse and seeing if it'll do something. But I don't know. It's really hard to figure out where they're going to go. And I know it's still early, but they're 1-4-1. Don't have a regulation win yet. They're just really struggling to get something going here.
Yeah, I mean, so go back to a week ago when we were talking and they were going to play Seattle that night. So if you can pull off a game here, it's one hell of a road trip, right?
Exactly.
I saw that game against Seattle, and yeah, to your point, that period, that little section in the second period was super disheartening. And I'm sure, I'm sure it was for fans, and I'm sure it was even more for the players who are, playing the game. That was just like, it got over like real quick, right? The game ended. So again, you talk about coming home there and then to have a home opener, which, people call a trap game. That's a really hard game. You play on Thursday night, you fly back, you're already kind of beaten down from the trip, and then you got to muster it up and have a team waiting for you and your home opener. It looks bad, right? It's just a lot of bad ingredients, and then you go and bake this cake, and then the cake sucks, and it's just the whole thing sucks, right? So you have these horrible ingredients to throw in, and just this cake's not going to work out. So you can kind of see that one coming. I don't think anybody was surprised. I think people were betting. I think bettors would have seen that one coming. That was kind of a as predictable game as you could almost in the NHL. I've seen it, played in them, know how they are. They're really, really tough games to play coming back. And then last night, you're off to a good start. I think Couturier hit the crossbar in the first 2 or 3 minutes.
I think it was the first shot on net last night. It was a crossbar.
Yeah. First, par for the course, right? Offensively, the last week or so, and again, Torts after the first period said, I don't think we're playing that poorly, and you give up a couple plays on breakaways. Now they finished their chances and Philadelphia didn't. Connect came out of the box. Couturier had that one. Somebody else had a little breakaway too.
Lawton.
Lawton had a little breakaway too. So they had two, we had two, maybe another half in there. They don't go. It's the difference, right? They score on theirs, we didn't score on ours. So if those go in, it's you're starting the second period 2-2, and so who knows the way the game's going to go. Worst case, you pulled it back to 2-1 on a real nice goal, and you were in the mix for the game for a while and lost it at the end. Or lost it through the course of the rest of the game. But is it time to panic? I don't know yet. It's
too early to tell.
Take a little bit longer. Let's let things shake out here. Let's get back on the East Coast. Let's kind of get some practice days in. Let's kind of get settled in here, and then give it another couple of weeks, see what we got.
Yeah, I want to ask you: did you ever remember a time when you were kind of going through a tough start to the year, and you guys just kind of started pulling it together? Like, what if you can remember the time? Like, what was it that kind of brought you guys back?
Sometimes I don't know. It's just it's like it's not like an all of a sudden thing. It's like you lose playing badly, then you lose playing pretty good, and then you lose playing good, and then you cross over the threshold, and then you start to win. You can win playing badly. It's very momentum based, right? And sometimes, old school stuff, they would have done it. Maybe they have fought their way out of it, they would have said, why don't we all go drink a bunch of beers tonight, and do it that way, kind of do camaraderie, old school ways. But these days you've got to be a professional. You got to play, and to a man, you got to look in the mirror a little bit harder and be, what can I do? And if I'm not and then the great thing about being out here with this team, even it's the minors out here, these new analytics they have, right? So the attention to detail. So say your team, you have people in your analytics department that can send notes down and be like, okay, your team, or come from, Ian Anderson and the guys in Philadelphia, be like, all right, your team, we're not blocking shots. The computer's saying we're not blocking shots. We're not doing this and that. So the staff can kind of grab some of these little detail things and kind of move it forward, get it to the players. And players can be like, hey, I don't consider myself a shot blocker, but maybe I should block a couple. And then somebody else like, I'm not a big time finisher of my checks. Well, I got to finish some checks. So it can be something like getting players to do things out of their normal character, to just kind of push the whole group forward. You need some breaks too. Like, you need that save, you need a timely goal, you need a timely save. And you got to get it from somewhere, and somebody's, and it's the old thing, like somebody's got to make a play. Like somebody's got to do something. You can't just play hockey and play comfortable, and especially when you're losing, and assume that things are going to go any different. Somebody's actually got to do something to make something happen, and whether it's, like I say, in goal, whether it's in goal, converting on a power play, scoring, a guy who doesn't score a lot, he's got to score goals. You get one chance every 2 games. You got to score one of those. And that's what it takes, somebody kind of doing something out of character where you don't expect it to come from. So,
right. Yeah. No, 100%. And especially when guys are struggling, and going into last night, it was, I think, it was Konechny, Frost, Tippett, Michkov, and I think Drysdale. There might have been one or two other names on that list, but that's like a good chunk of the the high end guys on the Flyers offense. Those guys didn't have a single even strength point going into last night's game. So it's just little things like that. There's just like, guys are struggling to get out of the gate and start scoring. Like Tippett hasn't scored yet, and I think he had 15 shot attempts against Seattle. It was only 3 of them hit the net. You know what I mean? It's like he's just kind of been hitting glass most of the year, and it's struggling. And I think one of the biggest things is Tortorella, who, for me, Mike, it's hard to really judge Torts right now, because I've always kind of viewed Torts as like this was going to be his last year, and they were going to try to either move him upstairs and get another coach in here. I always kind of viewed it as like this was like a 3-year plan with Tortorella. I still kind of feel that way. I think the more you kind of look at him and kind of what everyone's kind of been talking about, like, hey, is he kind of on the hot seat right now with everything that's been going on? He had a quote last night, and I know you just mentioned what he said in the first period, and I actually agree with him. I didn't think they were playing that bad, but then when you go the rest of the 40 minutes, you only get 5 shots on net. It's like you got to do something. I think one of the biggest problems is the lines are changed every game. there's been 18 different line combinations in 6 games. Like that's hard for guys to to really gel together. And I get it. It's a pretty similar roster than last year. But like, in your opinion, like, would you have rather a coach have kind of, switched lines, or like, did you prefer like kind of just keep playing with the same guys, or was it better to get a switch maybe in between periods and stuff like that?
Well, that's the reality of pro sports, is like things don't last forever, right? And even your lines will grow stale, and then they'll mix it up and you play with somebody else. And I mean, I think you're for this group, I think they'd be getting them ahead of themselves if they felt like, not that they deserve to be left alone and left comfortable, but that they've earned that right, and sports going to keep.
That's a good point.
Looking, if you're scoring and you have a proven track record, and probably for some of these young players, when they run into this wall and it's super hard to score in the NHL, it's like it's hard to figure out where to go with it, and as far as like, okay, if I'm struggling, what are my basics? I don't, when you're struggling as a player, you don't do more, you go less. You do less, and you dumb it down, you kind of knock yourself back to square one, and then you climb again and start adding these parts to your game. Like if you're, you get back to skating, you get back to hitting, you get back to just hard work, and then the puck will seem to find you a little bit more. But if you stand around, you kind of wait, and you wait for the puck to come to you, like it's never coming. You got to get back to the roots of the game, where it's about going to get the puck and going and winning one-on-one battles and going to get the puck. And some of these guys, you've got to revert back down to that. You got to take a step backwards to take 2 more forward, right? So
exactly.
They're like, well, I can't get anything done. It's too hard. It's just like, well, okay, well, what do you have to adjust your thinking,
simplify it. Yeah,
instead of making this harder and feeling better, I'm going to dumb it down, and I'm going to go as simple as I can, and I'm going to make things work. And when Torts does his lines, he's like, hey, this guy gives us speed. If he's skating, he gives us speed. This guy gives us some heaviness. This guy gives us some playmaking. Maybe combines them up. All right, maybe this line just all 3 skaters. I need a line with just speed that's going to skate. I need a group. Right. I need a group that's physical. Like I need a blend of 2 or 3. So again, he's begging guys to show me what you got. Right. Make me put you somewhere, where you want to be. I know
make me want to play you, kind of thing. Yeah.
Which is, you got to do something to make me put you there.
Right.
So it's hard, and then people blame no continuity. There's this or that. Well, kind of as a player, you got to earn it a little bit too. As a group,
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't know. It's not an envious spot as a coach. Certainly, they don't like it either.
No, I hear you, because I think for me, like, I get what he's trying to do, and I always kind of, for a while, I always kind of complained that like the lines were always the same. You know what I mean? And you always kind of had the same lineup, but at the same time, like 18 feels like way too much, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. For 6 games, like it's just like
kind of a sign of how your year's going. I mean, it's basically sums your year up so far, right?
Right. Yeah. And again, it's like, and like the more you think about it, and I think you're spot on, because you use so many chances in those past couple of games from breakaways and all these little things, and obviously like 1 goal changes everything. To me, like a goal is the biggest momentum changer in hockey. People can argue fighting and all that. I do think that does help, but I think a goal is just it changes the game. It changes everything. In terms of kind of where they are right now, they just could not finish chances last night. They had 1 goal in 6 periods at Wells Fargo Center. They had multiple posts, a couple blown chances, shorthanded, the 2 shorthanded goals against. I think one of the biggest things, and just kind of looking at it, obviously it's been goaltending. And for me, Mike, I think, it's goaltending, it's not scoring, but team defense is the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. If you pick one of these goals that they've given up these past couple of games, whether it's, the example, like the shorthanded goals from last night, or some of the ones against Vancouver, like you talked about faceoffs against Vancouver, they lost a clean faceoff that went right into the back of their net. Clean faceoff winger one time that went straight past theirs, and it's 3-0. And it's like, you know what I mean? In a blink of an eye. And I didn't even see the goal because I was tweeting something. And I look up and it's in the net, and I'm like, so and it shows, how important faceoffs are and just team defense overall.
Yeah, I think Torts has so many little detail things to teach a lot of them, and what guys have appreciated. Like, when you're younger, all they tell you is score. Just get there and score. Well, now, in the NHL, if you don't play if you're not scoring, then you've got to check. Like you've got to be, your team has to, not only as individuals you have to check, but your team has to check, you know, and
Yeah.
you can't give up the soft one and outscore them. If you're giving up chances and goals and you can outscore them all, then who really cares, right? Let's clean it up a little bit because there might be a night where we don't score so much.
You're still winning.
You're not scoring at all. Like the onus is on your team defense, and your players have to check, and they have to be, you know, on point when they're on point, like, you know, with the right mentality every time they're on the ice. They got to be like, you know, so dialed in, and it's super hard. So a lot of guys, you know, you have to score. I mean, you got to check a little bit along the way to make it here, but you score to get there, and then it's like to stay. You've got to learn how to play some defense and be an all around player, and you know, win these games 1-0 and 2-1. And he's got to have a collection of guys that, hey, if this is a 2-1 game, like, can we play in a 2-1 game? I don't know. You know, he's like, can we win a 2-1 game? I'm not even sure. We can't check hard enough. You know, we can't check tightly enough. We can't keep the team off the board. We're going to give all this up. I mean, it's fine.
That's exactly what happened last night. Was that they get the goal 30 seconds in on the 4-on-4, and then, you know, not even a minute later, it's 3-1, and it's a total breakdown in front of the net.
You know, and if that's going to be our team identity, I know Torts wants to play fast. He wants to play offensive and aggressive. And reading his quotes, and you know, his mantra first. You know, playing safe is death and all that stuff. But you know, at the same time, you got to realize what your team is too. You know, and maybe you've got
the biggest thing from last year was. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off, but the biggest thing from last year was they were able to shut down teams all the time. And they have not done that in one game this year, not once. And it looks closer to the team that had that losing skid at the end of the year. They lost, I think, 9 of their last 11 to any other time before last season. Yeah.
So I mean, you know, they're just having bad luck checking. You know, and it's not working, keeping teams off the board. I mean, you give up 4 last night. You give 3 to Vancouver the night before. You give up 5, or was it 6 to Seattle? You know, I mean, those are, you know, 4 goals a game, 4.5 goals a game you're giving up. Like, you're not going to outscore that. Like, no. You got to be tight. You know, big thing is you got to be tightening that up. And it's, you know, getting the buy-in from the younger players and getting to appreciate that, how important that is. And that's how you win day to day. You know, you're not going to win by scoring all the time. You can't pull it off. But your defense and goaltending got to be there. Your team defense and goaltending got to be there, and you got to check. And, you know, and it's, I don't know. It's finding that balance, right? It's so hard, you know. And again, you don't have a dominant superstar. You don't have somebody who's going to bail you out, or you can look to, you know, point per game guys. You can look at this guy and be like, he's probably going to do it tonight, so let's just let him do it. You know, there's nobody. You know, it's hard. It's by committee. It's by committee. So you've got to. It's hard to figure out. You know, it's super frustrating right now when it's the committees not being able to pull that weight. You know, and then you know, so they'll get on a rush. You know, or they'll get on a streak where they do start to go scoring, and it'll happen. Just
one of these games coming up, they're going to score like 5-6 goals, and that's just how the game goes.
That's why you got to give it some time here. Like, you know, they're coming back from the West Coast, and they kind of now they settle in and kind of just get in the groove of the season, and you know, kind of get the pace and schedule of the season, and being home, being away, being home for 1, being away for 2, being back home for 3, back home. You know, kind of the rhythm of bouncing around the East Coast, and it's. You know, that's got a ways to go. That's still got to take effect a little bit.
Yeah, no, 100%, and especially like when you really look at the schedule, you have the Caps tonight in Washington. You're home Saturday, Sunday, Minnesota, Montreal. Then you go to Boston, then back home against St. Louis, and then starting November, you're home against Boston, and then you go to Carolina, Tampa, and Florida. It's not, they're not really going far. You know what I mean? Like Tampa and Florida, those aren't really far flights, and then Carolina isn't too bad. So I mean, they're at least in a closer, you know, vicinity than one from going all over the place when they started the year. So that might start to help too. They can kind of ease into it. And certainly tonight against
and all this, you like to get a little practice time in, right? So you find these warts. You find these warts in your team that you know this is where we're really struggling. You know. This is what's picking us apart, and now you have some time to work on it. The NHL is not built for a ton of practice time, really, you know. But you know, you can sneak in the odd day or 2 here, and maybe even stay a little longer on the ice if you have to, you know, and not be, you know, and get to work through some of these kinks, you know. So, but you know, you got to start breaking these up in smaller segments, you know, where you're like, well, all right, we got, you know, we're at Wash here now, and then we got 2 home games this weekend. All right, these next 3 games, we got to get, you know, we got to have 4 points out of this. You know, we got to be scoring probably 10 goals, combined, give up, let's give up less than 6 combined. Those are good little things to start to build some momentum and create little challenges within the season. Like, let's worry about this next week here and play well this week. And then we'll start to build. Then we'll worry about the next week, And so it's, before it gets too much further, it's a daunting task. It's certainly everybody's antenna's got to be up here and say, we got to right the ship here pretty quick.
Yeah. No, 100%. And you're going in these next couple of games. To me, the biggest positive right now is that there's 74, 73 games left. And obviously they play tonight. This is obviously people are listening to this on Friday. But again, this goes back to what we were saying from the first episode. Like, they're not supposed to be good yet. Like, it keeps going back to that because they're just not. And when you have a lot of guys, again, that like you were saying, that you're trying to figure out who's what and everything, and it also, I think, Mike, too, it just seems like everyone's just now like trying to be the hero. You know what I mean? Like, they're trying to be the one that does it, and like, you obviously need those guys to do that, but it's so frustrating when you watch and you're hoping for something and you're kind of just waiting for it and it just never comes. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing. I think some guys have had some good games. I think they talked about there's going to be some changes with the lineup tonight. I think they said Frost and Brink could be getting scratched. Jet didn't play the last night, so he'll probably come back in. Sealer did come back in, so he played his first game of the year. But yeah, I mean, it's just still like the same issues that keep kind of hurting them in terms of Team D and all that. When you mentioned the power play early on, you talked about having a net front guy, and they haven't really had much of a net front guy. And when we last talked about the power play, we're like, oh, the power play is actually looking pretty good. And now it's been last week, and now it just doesn't look like it's been doing much of anything. In terms of that, is there anything is that more of also too just kind of simplifying it and just getting in? Because it seems like that they struggled in draws still. They still lose a ton of faceoffs, which that's been a huge thing. Less possession of the puck, and then you got to defend more and all that. We talked about that. And then more of just like the power play. Like last night, it's 2 goals from the same unit, and it's Zamula is the quarterback, and like no one reads that. You know what I mean? It's just simple plays. Like, I don't know what it is, if it's just in their head or if it's just trying to get off on the wrong foot, and then you're just like, you're kind of like hoping and praying that like you're kind of just like, oh God, like when you're watching it, like they got to score first here or something like that. I think it's been four of the first 6 games they've been behind 1-0 or more. So I mean, you're playing from behind. I mean, everything that could be going wrong is just going wrong. I know I don't really have a question here. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just things off the top of my head.
Well, a power play, like, again, you can start, when struggling, then you again, it's going back to that thing we talked about earlier. It's like, you don't make it more complicated. You simplify. And if you're having trouble scoring goals, then let's, manufacturing plays and some passing plays, and let's shoot it more. Let's make sure we're shooting, and we'll get puck recoveries. The onus is on some guys to go recover pucks for sure, but let's get some shot volume going here. Let's show we're shooting power play, and then maybe some of these passing lanes will open up a little bit. But that's an easy, simple, quick answer. I mean, but if you have the right personnel, it's it's simpler. It should work out. But but then like I said, everything pro sports, and when things go bad, it starts to snowball a little bit. And then again, somebody wants to do something that they shouldn't be doing with outside their team game and on the PP, and they try to do it themselves a little bit more. But again, it's really important for the guys to really kind of hold it together themselves and just kind of keep playing and not start and realize we're all in this together and just keep going with it, and make it work. So certainly there's no doubt it's frustrating. I mean, you switch lines, you change the lineup. Brink had a great point-blank chance on his backhand early in the first. Caught the goalie going one way. He was coming across the crease going the other direction, and then you flip, makes a nice backhand play, and then hits the goalie in the arm or hand or whatever it was. And those are he's covering 10% of the net up high there, and he just happened to stick his arm up and hit it. So that's just the way it goes. And so kind of when it rains, it pours a little bit. I think a little bit for the Flyers now, and it's like, so good thing is I think the best thing is after last night and not letting it sit, and you went right on the road and got to DC, and you get another chance at the same group tonight. So
exactly,
you get to evaluate what you did wrong, go through the video. Hey, let's clean this and up, and let's have we'll have a better effort tonight and be a better team than we were last night. And that's that's all you can hope for. That the staff's trying to say, we'll be better tonight than we were last year. Clean this, or last night. Let's clean this stuff up. Get a win tonight. Which would get help you catapult you into the weekend.
Yeah. No, 100%, and especially too because it felt like there was a lot of times last night where they passed up shots. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest things is just shoot from anywhere, honestly, because you're struggling, you can't score, and see if you can get a bounce.
Yeah, think about it. Shot volume is huge. If
last year they broke records in shots on goal.
Yeah, goalies say 91, 92% of pucks. So if you shoot 33 shots, means you're like scoring. You're going to get one. You need shot volume. And maybe you're going to get two at it. Somebody who's a 92%, you're going to get two. And you get 44 shots. Maybe you're up to 3.5 a game. You've got to get shots, right? And it's you don't be shy about shooting the puck. And then you got to find somebody to go to the dirty areas, and where the stats prove, that 10 feet out and about 10 feet each side of the crease is the hard area, and you've got to get more guys in there. And guys, Brink had a great chance in there. That's one sticks out to me. And at least we're in there. You're in there getting shots, but you've got to get take those shots and then go find them. And outwork the D. Forwards got to outwork their D and go find these rebounds. So it sounds very easy, but I don't see a problem with shot volume. And get more pucks. It's good mentality, and then you can make some plays after that. But be a shooter. Every guy, they're young players, try and start a game. How do I get off to a fast start? It's like you're skating. Either you skate, you either hit or get a hit, and then if you have a chance to shoot the puck, you shoot the puck. And it seems to get the ball rolling. It seems to get the ball rolling in for you. And players,
everyone kind of gets into the game then.
Why do I start slow? Well, you're not doing. All you do is 3 things for your first shift: skate, hit somebody, or get hit. And if you have a chance to shoot the puck, don't get cute with it. Just put it on goal and follow it to the net. And it just kind of gets the ball going. So. And that's hard on some of the young players to have that maturity to figure out, okay, I got to dumb this down. Here's where I'm going to go back to what's worked in the past. When I struggled before, this is how I got myself going, and get myself going that way and figure out what's going to work for me. How do I get my game moving forward? It's hard for young players to understand that. Try and understand. You try and tell them and explain it to them, and it just goes right over their head a lot.
Yeah.
Until they get older, they figure it out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So obviously we'll see kind of what happens, tonight against Washington.
We interrupt this program for an important news announcement.
All right, what's up, everybody? Chris here. Little insert after Flyers Caps didn't go as planned. A 6-3 loss to Washington. Lose both games of the back-to-back. Similar things that we kind of, we're literally just talking about, from defensive breakdowns to just bad play. Like, you're down 4-0 at one point. Igor Zamula did not look good. You saw a little bit of a comeback, a little bit of a spark. I personally thought it looked like it was a team that was kind of playing to get the coach fired, if I'm being honest. And then they woke up, and you saw some changes, and you saw a little, changes in play, and they started getting some goals. They got some chances. They finally generated some shots. So we'll kind of see what happens going into the weekend and who plays and who doesn't and all that. But it's another loss, and it's 6 straight. But it's a little bit of a positive sign because you saw a spark. Like, you saw a little bit of the team you saw last year, which was like that offensive team that generated plays and was able to get chances. And they had chances, and they just have not been able to score. It's been the theme all year is that they've been bad defensively. It's led to pucks in their neck because they haven't been getting any really timely saves. And then you get chances and you don't finish. So those are 3, recipes right there for losing games early in the season. So we'll see. We'll send it back to the rest of the episode. And then you have the weekend and all. So we'll kind of see, what happens here throughout the next couple of games when we come back next week. As for last time we got here, Mike, we got trivia. This one actually took me a while to kind of get going and start trying to figure out I ended up adding up most of your goals. It took me a while to end up doing this one. So what I did was I went and I looked up goals by month.
Mhm.
That was hard. As for this one, let me pull this one up here. So the question here, this one is, in what month did you score the most goals in your NHL career?
Okay. So I'm going to say right now, October was out. I was not a fast starter in October. I did not once, I think in my career, did I have like 6 goals in October. Never once. Maybe like 2 or 3.
Took you a while to do it.
Panic. I start to panic. And then start going November, start going December, January. Now you're in kind of the season. February, I think February being 28 days, his calendar is the shortest month, but I'm going to believe it's like, I'm going to say it's like February or something where I started like really getting into the bulk of the season. And then, you feel like you're getting close to 20. So you start pushing a little harder. And then some years you already passed 20. So now you're up into 25. You're trying to get to 30. So you're pushing a little harder. March is too short. I'm gonna say February, even though it's the shortest amount of days. It's somewhere around. It's either January or February. I'm gonna say February.
You're close. It's March.
It isn't March. Oh,
yeah.
March.
He had 56 in March, 10 game winners.
Yeah.
44 in January, and then you were close. February's on the list for 40 in February.
40 in February. So 40, 44 in January, and then what was the other one?
56 in March with 10 game winners.
All right.
Yeah. You had some of your best years as a Flyer in March. Like a lot of goals. Yeah, a lot of goals. Yeah.
Well, when they say, kind of the MO in the league is, right, it's a little easier to play in October, November, and certain guys get off to great starts, but then they kind of say after the All-Star game, and then you get to February, March, the games tighten up, right, because people are grinding for playoff, and your 6-4 game in October, November now becomes a 3-2-er, like it tightens up. So I don't know, I guess that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, he showed up later in the season and we're like scoring, when he had to. I guess I'm pretty proud of that. I guess that's pretty good. April and
I mean, March I always view as like a big month, like pushing for the playoffs and then all that. Yeah.
Guys are tired, guys are beat up. You just kind of, maybe that's why I did well. A lot of guys were beat up and too tired.
Yeah, right.
Everybody's fresh in October. They play you too hard. And then March, everybody's a little tired and sick of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of teams are more banged up.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know. I like that. Felt like it was something. It was for sure the latter half of the year.
Yeah,
I knew that. Sure. It was not October, November, December. No.
I hear you. Yeah, especially it's just like getting off on the right foot and all, and then a lot of guys will start hot and start cold, or vice versa. So yeah, it's definitely fair. All right, thanks everybody again for all support as always. Checking out the pod. Did want to do a quick shout out to Kevin Baker. It was a guy I met the other night at the home opener. He's really into the pod. So it's been awesome. We got a lot of support over the past couple episodes, especially last episode with Richie. So thanks everybody. Really appreciate that. And we'll be back next week. See you guys.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, guys.